Welcome back to Briggs on Books, our international talk show where I talk to authors from all over the world, countries from all over the world. We've been talking to France and Spain and Canada of all places, and it's the best job in the world. It helps me pick books, and I hope that by you watching the show, it helps you pick your next book. By the way, check out this book. I pointed the wrong way. The Reaper by Rob Jung. And I think we have Bob here, by the way. Bob comes on our show from time to time. Here he is. Rob, do I say it right? Jung? Is that right, Rob?
Young. Pronounce the J like a Y.
Yeah, I'm making it more difficult than it is. Bob Jung. And Bob's latest book, which we just had on the screen here, it is The Reaper, has come out in an audiobook. And our guest with Rob is Steve Hendrickson, who did the audio. Do I have all the facts straight so far?
Sounding good.
Rob, tell us first a little bit about the book.
Well, the book is actually, it's unique in that it's two novellas under one cover, or now under one audio. But it starts out, the first half of the book is set in 1937 at the Paris World Exposition, and it's really centers around a painting that went missing at the end of the World Exposition, a painting by an artist named Joan Moreau called The Reaper in English. That's all the true historical basis of the book. So the first part of The Reaper is the story of all the competing interests who wanted to get their hands on that painting in 1937. That painting actually disappeared and has never been found. That also is historically true. And then the second half of the book, we fast forward to 2009, and the story becomes how that same missing painting now becomes a focal point of an ongoing struggle between a young artist and his estranged mother. And so the story, that's where the story carries forward. And The Reaper is, in fact, the first of a trilogy.
Okay. Now, Rob, I ask this of every author because I just can't see that well. I just have almost stopped reading books because my eyesight gets so bad and it's very difficult. I always say, when is it going to come out in an audiobook? So I don't know if you did this because of me or if it was your plan. You had an audiobook made. Tell us about the process to get that done.
Well, that's a better question for Steve than for me. He's the genius behind the audiobook. I just happened to have a book around that he liked well enough to do, and so I'll leave the answer to that question to Steve.
Steve?
Sure. Rob and I met. There's a organization in the Twin Cities called Sisters in Crime, which is an authors support group. And they meet monthly, I believe, and they sort of talk about what they're writing. There's usually someone who reads something, and they talk and critique it, and they have guest speakers. And I reached out to them and said, I kind of do audiobooks, and mysteries are always a popular thing. So last summer, I went and spoke to them and met Rob there, and he passed along this book, The Reaper, and I read it and really liked it. So we formed a partnership, and The Reaper just went on sale about 3 weeks ago.
Nice.
And it's slowly appearing on all the major distribution platforms, which each one of them is different, and they take their time, but it's getting out there.
Now tell me about your preparation to do the audiobook. Did you rehearse it? Did you read it over and over, or did you just open it up and read it?
I generally read it twice. I read it the first time to just get a general sense of the book. In Rob's case, I kind of read it 3 times because I read it the first time and thought, oh, this is going to be this could be cool. Then I read it a second time, and that's where I'm doing a number of things. I'm formatting it into the format I prefer to read from, and marking important ideas, descriptions of characters, and also flagging for any grammatical errors or other nits that kind of that can sometimes slip past an editor. There's no better way to discover all the structural faults of your book than to have somebody read it out loud.
Read it out loud, yeah.
I make a list of those and pass them on to Rob and say, should we do this? Should we do that? And then I generally read it a third time to kind of really get a sense of what's going on, who are the major characters, where are the conflicts, and then I just start, and I tend to I've just turned 70, so I'm my my endurance is not what it used to be. I used to be able to narrate about 6 hours a day, and now I find that I can really only maybe do 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
And then I just get tired, and my circulation starts to complain. So I just I do about so it comes down to maybe like a chapter a day. Although Rob writes very short chapters,
Nice.
so a couple of chapters each day. And there's a service I subscribe to, an artificial intelligence service that listens to my audio and compares it to the text and flags
Nice.
mistakes that I make. I paraphrase something, or I omit a word, or I drop something, and so that gives me a list of mistakes that are called pickups.
Pickups.
And then I do the pickups. I go back and I sort of add in the right word or phrase or the right pronunciation, and then it's mastered, and then it goes to the publisher.
And by the way, you are the first, I guess you'd say, voiceover artist, or I don't know what you call the craft, but you're our first. So I got a billion questions. They don't give
cool.
They don't give us that much time. But Billy, yeah, do you go to a studio for this, or you have
I'm sitting in my home studio.
home studio, right?
When I decided I wanted to, I've been a professional actor in the Twin Cities for over 30 years, and my wife retired from teaching, and I decided, I'm kind of, I think I'm kind of mostly done with acting on stage. I did do a show last fall, but for the most part, I thought, I think I want to slow down. An audiobook seemed to be a kind of a nice second act.
Yep.
So when we downsized, we bought a condominium that had this huge walk-in closet, storage room, that I converted to a sound studio. So
Nice.
this is where I do the work.
Yeah, and you work at your own pace, I guess, that way.
Yes, when I'm producing, when I'm also the producer, yes, I work at my own pace. I also work for other producers.
Yeah.
I've done books for Penguin Random House and HarperCollins and Scribner and Macmillan and all of the big audiobook publishers. And then you're kind of on their clock. But yes, this was a self-produced project.
Now, on your end, are there a lot of choices? I mean, character voices, or one I've listened to many audiobooks where the reader really brings to life different characters and different voices. Is that something you do?
Sometimes, yeah. That's one of the reasons you really want to read the book first.
Yeah.
I There have been cases, not me, but there have been cases where someone has read an entire book voicing a character one way, and in the last chapter it's revealed that this character is Scottish. And
Yeah.
now I have to go back, I have to go back and change everything.
Do the whole thing. Now,
So yeah, generally as part of the agreement, I do what's called the first 15, and I basically say to Rob, you pick, whatever sections of the book, up to about 15 minutes of audio that you want to hear, and I'll do them, and then you can let me know. Do you like the sound of this? Do you like the sound of that?
Yeah.
And so the author does get a chance to weigh in
Yeah.
on the choices.
Yeah. And Rob, when you're writing the book, I would imagine that the characters have certain voices in your head. How did it come out when Steve finished it? Did he come close to what you were writing?
I think Steve improved on what was in my head.
Nice.
It's I usually write with the actual live characters in mind. I'm casting my book as I'm writing it, and Steve did a marvelous job of when I had it casted correctly. He was spot on, and when I didn't, he changed it for the better. So
For the better.
he's the co-casting director as well as the voice of the Reaper.
Yeah, and that's where my questions were kind of leading. What kind of approval process, or I guess, Steve, you said you read about 15 minutes for the author, and the author would then make choices and say, yeah, this is good, or that voice is good, or you're doing great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of back and forth at first.
Right. The first 15 is, and that's why I leave it up to the author to make the selection of what parts of the book do you think are important for you to hear. And the first 15 is really the last chance for the author to weigh in. After that, the audiobook kind of becomes my baby.
Yeah.
And unless there are really, really serious and valid objections to choices at that point, it's
Yeah, I guess it can always be edited. You get through it and they say, "Hey, you left out a
well,
whole
it can, but
page here or something."
that's additional time, and that's additional time.
Yeah.
And in the audiobook business, like all others, time is money.
Yeah.
So the agreement basically allows for some adjustments, but not a lot. I mean, so I try to make it very clear that the first 15, this is your shot, this is your chance to
say, I don't like your voice, or something like that.
That's never happened to me, but that has happened.
Okay. It's better to find out in
you know what?
advance anyway.
If that's the case, then we can shake hands and say good luck and drop the project there, and nobody's out a lot of time and effort.
Yeah.
But once you sort of sign off on the first 15, then the sort of the book leaves the purview of the author.
Yeah.
And sort of enters the purview of the narrator.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to, as an avid, I say I read books, but I'm listening to them. As an avid listener of audiobooks, now I've seen you, and I know Rob. I can't wait to dig into this book and listen to it. So it'd be exciting to kind of the backwards process, see you first and then listen to the book. That'll be a fun way to do it. Steve, what if someone wants to reach you and have you do their book for them?
They can reach me through my email is can I put it in the notes, or in the do we have a
You could send it to me later and I'll add it here. on the screen, and we'll have it that way. I could copy and paste it. I'm not in the same room as my Zoom computer. So, Rob, so I guess you're saying, Rob, that you turned out great. You're happy with how it came out, and you're happy with the voice.
I think the lesson for anybody who is doing any author who is having his first or wants their first book turned into audio, is to get someone who is experienced, someone who has done books, has been the audio voice of books in your genre or similar genres, and who has proven through the course of their work that you don't have to worry about either the quality of their work or their ethics.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest lesson for anybody to take away from this. Yeah. And Steve is the best in my opinion.
That's great.
So that's if you can contact him. He's a great man to work with, and he's a great voice.
I just put my email in the chat.
Okay, perfect.
So
now I like something you just said, Rob, about making sure in advance. I talked to, of course, thousands and thousands of authors over the years on this show, and so many of them had made mistakes and taken a wrong path and had to figure out the hard way. So hopefully people will listen to you, Rob, because this could be a big one. If you get an audiobook done and you just don't like the voice, or you found out the person had a lisp or something like that, you find out in advance. So go with a professional like Steve Hendrickson. Steve Hendrickson. I could talk to you guys all day, but they're telling me we've gone way past our time. But this is fascinating. I just want to give you a minute, Rob or Steve. Any last thoughts on this issue or the industry or anything you want to talk about?
Well, no, audiobooks is one of the biggest growing sectors of publishing, and it's looking like it's not going to slow down anytime soon.
And the only thing I want to say in closing is, hey, look for the Reaper at your regular audiobook site, and it will be there. And we are embarking on book 2 of this trilogy.
That is
soon, and so soon the Sower, which is book 2, will follow.
Very good. And for our viewers, I'll say my last thought is go get this book. And I don't know how they do it, but my kids send me audiobooks. So if you're a regular buyer of audiobooks, you probably know how to do that. But don't just buy it for yourself, buy it and send it to somebody else as well. Thank you, gentlemen. Our first, tell us the industry. Is it voiceover? Is it narrator? How do you like it to be called, Steve?
Audiobook narrator.
Audiobook narrator. Our first audiobook narrator on the show. And
thank you, Michael.
What an honor.
All right. Thanks, you guys. And for our viewers, again, order the book. Audio, you don't have to do it on audio if you don't want, but I think it's going to be more fun now that we know the audiobook narrator. And for our viewers, we'll be back with more Briggs on Books, another author, right after this.